The Law of Attraction, The Secret of My Success and How to Make It Work for You. By Kate Jackson. Foreword. The very fact that you are reading this is testament to the success of the Law of Attraction. It is with such gratitude that I write this book, and it is my sincere hope that my story will encourage you and inspire you. The Law of Attraction, generally speaking, is the concept that you are literally and actively creating your life in every moment with your thoughts, feelings, and actions. This can be a hard premise to wrap your mind around, and I will take some time in the book to explain the concept more fully. There are actually many teachers, old and new, who share the insights of this discovery and how to use it. You'll find references to some of these authors and teachers throughout this book. I have great gratitude towards them because they inspired me to change my life. But, I must warn you, while absorbing the concept of the Law of Attraction and applying it fully may come easy to some, for most it takes considerable mental effort. And, it takes time. You will need to exercise faith and patience. Once you begin, you will find ways that work for you, and it always helps to find inspiration from others. This book is intended as just that, inspiration from an ordinary person who took the Law of Attraction message to heart, and found wondrous opportunity and joy in her life. I hope you enjoy the book. Preface: if you have read books like The Secret, by Rhonda Byrne, or Thoughts Become Things, by Prentice Mulford, you no doubt have come to realize, or are in the midst of coming to realize your true power in this world. If you have not read those books, or other books in that vein, please do so immediately for the benefit of your entire future. Many are listed in Chapter 9. Whether you're a seasoned practitioner, or a novice to Law of Attraction, the overall concept may seem difficult to grasp at times, that we are energy, that we have power. But, in my experience, it is proving to be the ultimate gift to us from the universe, or from God, as you may choose to name this infinite power. If you find my story helpful to you, please let me know by way of a book review. Other people's testament to this faith is sure to lend credibility and faith to those who are searching. There are many people who know of the Law of Attraction, but never explored it fully before. Or maybe you were intrigued by this New Age concept, but didn't know how it would realistically play out in your life. The Law of Attraction is such a magical gift that even today as I write this, I am astonished by the intricacies of this design. The universe bends and moves to form your current world around you. Your thoughts and beliefs shape that world. And what your world looks like to you, is different from what my world looks like to me. Yet we live in the same world. I have had a fast and furious journey of learning these last months. It is amazing how quickly your life can change. Please take my story to heart, as it truly does originate from my own heart. I sincerely hope that you find some value in this book in terms of knowledge, inspiration, and practical application for igniting your life's purpose. Chapter 1. My life as a searcher. I've always been a searcher. Searching for meaning in this world. Searching for answers, purpose. Trying to understand why life is difficult for so many, easy for others. Trying to reconcile my childhood spent in religion, with my adulthood spent in constant spiritual pondering, and hopefully, growth. New Age, spiritual pursuits, Buddhism, psychics, religion, angels, ESP, meditation. What did it all mean? What is our purpose? We all have those questions and the search for meaning. And though I don't claim to have all of the answers, I feel closer now to understanding than ever before. Purpose. When my son was born, I could feel it. Purpose. Even prior to his existence in this world, I had begun to believe that life was all about love. We are here to give love and receive love. Sounded good. Spreading love in this world and truly feeling loved are about the most wonderful feelings on earth. How could that not be the true meaning and purpose of life? I still believe that. We are here to love. But I now have added a different take on that. Back to the birth of my son though, for a moment, because this was monumental for me, in terms of feeling a true sense of why we are here. When he was born, I felt a joy so tremendous, that I believed I had never experienced any other emotion so deeply. Giving life. Wow. This is what it is all about. I didn't understand why the sheer act of producing another human into this world felt so good, but I knew it had something to do with profound love. It also, I believe, has a lot to do with creation. Creation and creating are processes that I want to talk a lot about, and how it led me to success, and continues to lead me in paths of prosperity in all areas of life. I am forever a learner, and do not claim to have mastered the secret of life. I have only begun to understand the depths of what we are capable of. But even in my fledgling way, I have met with incredible successes. As humans, I think we are meant to learn because it provides constant opportunity for growth and advancement. Therefore, I doubt we will ever meet with consistently perfect outcomes in every area of our life. Yet, we can be successful. We only need set the course and believe. I have come to believe that the law of attraction is operational in our lives every waking and sleeping moment. I believe we are in the constant act of creating our lives, by way of our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and actions. I believe it is true that the infinite source we are working with, or God, as I like to call it, is assuming that everything we think about, we want. And that all the things we speak about, we must want. That we are in constant communication with Him, and that our prayers are answered in every second, in every breath. We get that which we think about. What do you think about? What do you speak about? What do you focus on? Where do your thoughts go throughout the day? What do you spend your energy on? Are you letting yourself be overrun by negative thoughts? Or do you find yourself constantly thinking about what you don't want? Look around you and you will see all that you have drawn to you over the years, by way of your thoughts. This can be a difficult concept to grasp, whether it's your first time hearing it, or even if you've studied law of attraction for years. How can it be that we have attracted everything around us? None of us would ever purposely wish for anything bad for ourselves or our loved ones. Yet, we get sick. We have difficult relationships. We have jobs that we loathe. We feel tied down to circumstances. We have accidents. We lose money. How can anyone claim that anyone would ever intentionally draw those unfortunate circumstances into our life? Well, we do. And as I'll explain in a moment, as I go into the details of law of attraction, it really is as simple as 1, we get what we think about, consciously, and 2, we get what we believe, unconsciously. I'm not here to put a blanket statement on anyone who's ever had hardship and say that they are at fault. I'm still working on that one and I don't have an answer. I have known children with disabilities, and I have to believe there is a higher purpose involved. I suspect there are greater purposes for many circumstances that we cannot see and know, and I'll leave to teachers wiser than I, to mount a theory on that one. What I have come to believe is that when we carry thoughts and beliefs that do not serve us well, they do affect our lives, and they can affect our lives pretty intensely. We all carry beliefs about the way the world works. For example, do you believe that the crime rate is just rising and rising, and that the world is going crazy? That it's just getting worse? That there are too many criminals on the street? Do you say things like, "I don't know what this world is coming to"? Then, all of those beliefs are operating in your life currently, and they will produce results. Those beliefs manifest themselves by way of one, either more crime-related situations coming into your awareness, such as happening to drive by a crime scene too, or by having yourself as a victim of a crime. I know from experience that my car has been broken into several times. I had to examine my thoughts and beliefs and determine what kept attracting that to my life. It wasn't happening to my friends. It wasn't happening to my neighbors. It wasn't happening to other cars in the parking lot beside me. It was happening to me. Why? Well, as it turns out, I, or my car, was a magnet for theft because of my feelings, thoughts, and beliefs. What are you a magnet for? Lost dogs? Bad relationships? Winning lottery tickets? Difficult bosses? Traffic jams? Business opportunities? Colds and other viruses? I'm not here to play the blame game, although I am reminded of a phrase, "You are your own worst enemy." It's a little funny given the context of the law of attraction, and I suppose it's true. I'm simply here to open your awareness to these possibilities. I've spent my life searching for answers, and wondering why bad things happened one day and good things happened the next. I truly believe that the law of attraction is the answer. Our whole world is engaging in constant thought, and that has power. What is your part in it? Are you making the world a better place with your energy? Are you making your own life a better state with your own energy? Now at this point, you may already be saying that this is all nonsense, and I have lost my mind. But, I assure you, I am a normal human being. It's just that I've discovered an amazing secret, which is the law of attraction. Now, if you can accept that your own energy drew something bad to you, then the relief of that is that your own energy can draw something good to you as well. That will of course be the focus of this book. How to draw more of the good stuff to you. Chapter 2. What is the law of attraction? Let's take a few more moments to fully describe and understand the power that is called the law of attraction. Many of you have studied it for years while others are just now coming to find it. I welcome you both. The law of attraction is, what I understand to be, a universal power in which we get that which we think about. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "A man is what he thinks about all day long." The Bible says, "As a man thinketh, so is that man." Like attracts like. Positivity begets positive things and negativity begets negative things. There are so many thinkers and teachers who have come before, and many who are practicing today, teaching individuals and crowds of people, having written books or led lectures in an effort to share this great knowledge. Many have their own specific take on the law, and how to best manifest and create your reality, but they are all in agreement. Your thoughts are powerful magnets. Your personal beliefs attract to you more things that in turn confirm your personal set of beliefs. What you focus on expands. There are lots of ways to say the same thing. Here are some examples of how your belief attracts more of the same. You hold the belief that life is a struggle. Therefore, life presents you with more and more situations that make life a continual struggle for you. Another example, you feel like you will never find your soul mate. You get discouraged by every date you go on. You feel alone, and as though you will always be alone. Your thoughts and feelings are intensely emitting a signal of discouragement, hopelessness, loneliness, giving up and more. Therefore, that's what keeps showing up in your life. Another example, you believe you are lucky, you win things all the time. Therefore, more things show up in your life to confirm that your belief, and you tend to win one thing after another. Another example, you believe that you always get stuck in bad traffic, that the roads are always jammed, or that other drivers are rude, that there are too many people on the road. Therefore, you continually find yourself in difficult traffic situations on the road. Another example, you believe that you will never get out of debt. You can't see a way out, and you always feel as though you don't have enough. Therefore, you will continuously find yourself in situations and circumstances in which you do not have enough, and your debts grow. Another example, you believe you always pick the wrong line at the grocery store. Guess what? You will. Thoughts manifest. Thoughts become things. There is also a saying that you get what you anticipate. It is just another way of saying that what you are thinking will manifest. Life tends to present to you the things you expect, or the things you feel strongly, whether they are good or bad things. We may be thinking of debt as bad and luck as good. The universe does not interpret good or bad, and therefore cannot give you only the good things, or will not deliver only the bad things. When we ask sometimes out of desperation, why God did this terrible thing happen to me, the answer may well be that the terrible thing was all we could think about, and in effect, was all we were, unwittingly, praying for. Sometimes we get things that we think on a subconscious level. That is a hard concept to understand and change. Do you hold the belief that you don't deserve good things or that you are not good enough in this world? Do you always put yourself last? Do you hold the belief that sometimes bad things happen to good people, and that you have no control over what happens? These underlying thoughts can take time to redevelop and change, but it can be done. Affirmations, meditation, EFT, emotional freedom technique, as described later in this book, can help you to reshape your old belief systems. I believe our thoughts are a continuous prayer toward God, and He is continuously responding. The universe is mirroring our emotions and thoughts. The physical effect that manifests from our thoughts, or prayers, is truly dramatized further when we have intense emotion around it. When you feel something strongly, it tends to happen faster. Here is a personal example that happened to me twice in recent years. The most recent time was after I had learned about the law of attraction. I was driving one day, and casually noticed a police car driving on the road. For some reason, I had the thought of being pulled over. That thought was coupled with the emotions of anxiety, fear, and dread. I knew that these thoughts and feelings had power, so I tried my best to put it out of my mind. I later noticed a police car on the side of the road giving a driver a ticket. The blue lights were flashing. I felt it in my stomach. "Don't get a ticket," I said to myself. Knowing that these feelings of fear were a magnet pulling me closer to what I did not want, I tried with all my might to push these thoughts away. "You are a safe driver," I told myself. Still, a few days later, I noticed another police car. This happened to me, noticing police cars, feeling anxiety, several times over the next few weeks. Each time, there was a tremendous anxiety and fear in the pit of my stomach. I could feel my whole body tense up, and even got a little bit physically hot just thinking about my fear of getting pulled over. This was an intense visceral feeling, and try as I might, I couldn't push it away at those moments. Well, what do you think happened? Even though I consider myself a very safe driver, and did my best to observe traffic laws, wouldn't you know it? I got pulled over. Pulling out from a parking lot, trying to cross a busy street, I exceeded the speed limit for about 30 seconds, at most. Yet, there was a policeman coming from the other direction at that exact time. When he turned his blue lights on and turned around for me, my heart sunk. I knew I had caused this to happen. I knew it with every fiber of my being. I was responsible for drawing this situation to me. Tearful, when I pulled over, the policeman described how I had been speeding and asked for my information. I was very distraught, but I thought perhaps he would show me some kindness. Imagine my immense and profound gratitude when he explained that since my driving record had been impeccable for many years, he would simply give me a warning this time. And the gratitude and relief I felt was also an extremely powerful magnet. Gratitude works to pull more good towards you. When I see police cars now, I feel gratitude that they pass me by. I see police cars quite often, and I always remark to myself how they all seem to pass me by. I feel relief and gratitude each and every time. And yes, I continue to observe traffic laws and drive very safely. What are your anxiety and fear triggers? Now, admittedly, getting a speeding ticket is certainly not the worst thing to have happened to you. And to some people it would cause more distress than to others. At that time in my life, the very thought of it caused me extreme distress. You know the particular factors in your own life that, while small to others, would rank high on your list of stressors. It is amazing to me that even when we learn the secret of life, that we can have that which we think about with strong emotion, it is still a continual practice to perfect. Mastery. Do not feel bad if you haven't mastered the technique of the law of attraction, because I think it is just our human nature getting the better of us. It is work to remember that we are divine spiritual beings, and that the truth is that we are pure energy, we are in constant communion with God, and we are meant to enjoy abundance in all areas. In this book, you'll find ways to hone your skills, so that you can attract more of what you want into your life. Chapter 3. Life is in constant creation. I once heard someone ask a well-known psychic, "Why are we here?" And the answer was, "It is in the Creator's nature to create." Thought about that one for a long time. It is in God's nature to create. We are a manifestation of God, or the infinite source, the universe. We are here creating our lives, in every moment, in every hour. And creation is love. No wonder it feels so amazing to bring new life into this world. Babies, animals, watching plants grow. All life is in the constant process of becoming. Creation is the ultimate realization of our life's purpose. As I write these words, I realize that you may be wondering how a book about success through the law of attraction can begin with such emphasis on my having a child. My experience with my baby was an excellent place to begin this book and my personal story, because it highlights a momentous change in my life. The change was in my mindset and my understanding of this world. That little boy brings joy to everyone he meets. I see it in the smiles of passers-by and family members. I feel it deep down in my soul. I'm not here to tell you to have children though. I'm here to explain to you that I believe our life is about creating, and about love. When you experience true creation and true love in your life, anything is possible. How the secret came to me. About 10 months after my son was born, we were in the library. He was standing at the bookshelf, not yet walking on his own. He held onto the lower level shelf as I reached for something on the other side. When I reached down for him, there was this book. This wonderful, life-changing, yet plain-looking, beaten-up, older edition book. The Secret. Actually, it was the audio CD. This was more than ideal for me because I wasn't finding much time to read at that point in my life, and listening to CDs in my car was about the only time I could concentrate. I anxiously grasped the book and read the description. Something sounded familiar. Maybe I had heard about this book before. Yet, I think so. Years ago, wasn't this author on Oprah or something? There was some buzz about this book at the time. But, time had passed, and demand for this precious audio CD was low, hence the lower shelf placement. The description sounded quite promising. Your thoughts and your beliefs can shape your life in ways you never dreamed. I checked the book out, and the rest is history. Differing opinions on the Secret. Now, some people, I later learned, did not love this book. Some people think the concept of law of attraction is utter nonsense. Other people think this particular book does a poor job of describing the law of attraction, or that it doesn't focus enough on the action part of things, that you have to work, and not just daydream. Some people think other authors do a much better job of explaining how to make use of this mysterious power in your life. And still others actually did get excited about enacting the secret in their own life, only to realize that it requires great and sustained mental effort and action, that they had difficulty maintaining. After a short time with little or no results, their doubts got the better of them, and they decided there wasn't much to it. And you guessed it, if your new belief is that there isn't much to this philosophy, then that is what the universe will deliver for you, and it will be true for you. I will simply say that for me, The Secret was a superb starting place. You will truly need to explore the other writings and teachings though, in order to get the most benefit, in my opinion. But even the author recommends many of those to you herself. You will find many listed as resources at the end of this book. That July day when I discovered the book marked another profound step in my continuous searcher's journey, and it is this series of discoveries that I wish to share with you. Gaining the knowledge of The Secret and that of subsequent books by authors from long ago, I came to find life success that I had not even truthfully considered reaching in my life. Speed according to your faith. The most amazing thing to me is the speed at which my life changed. As I write this book now, it is literally only 7 months after I first found out about the law of attraction. 7 months. To me, that is a virtual warp speed, considering my full 34 years of life have never yielded such marked results in such a time frame. The first breakthrough I had happened roughly 30 days after I first started using The Secret. I'm excited to share with you what happened next. The Secret began playing in my car. Every day. Every car trip. Oh, how I looked forward to driving. Everything the author and the law of attraction teachers said resonated with me on a deeper level, and seemed to make all the other things I had heard about spirituality and purpose and religion, all come together, at last. The explanations for why things happen the way they do. The reason people who have the worst luck continue to attract the worst luck. The reason why sick people can heal themselves with thought and prayer. The reason people who complain all the time seem to always draw more things to complain about. The explanations for wealth finding one person and not another. How gratitude draws more good things to you. How a sour disposition prevents good from entering your life. The reason why, if you hit your elbow in the morning and get upset about it, your emotional state can start a domino effect and ruin the rest of your day. The quantum physics of energy. How we are all energy. How we are powerful. How God made us powerful. How God is a part of us and we are a part of Him. The reasons Jesus emphasized faith and belief so intensely all throughout the Bible. How to heal yourself. How to heal your relationships. How to create wealth, get the car you want, the house you want, and so forth. In short, that we have far more control over events and circumstances in our lives than we ever imagined. I began to understand that all wealth, all health, all love was truly meant for us, all of us. At that time in my life, I was grateful to already be experiencing great love from my family, friends, and community. I also had excellent health. Sure, there were things I'd like to change, like everyone. I had been battling allergies for about a year, and began working on changing my mindset towards health and healing. But overall, I was feeling well, getting good nutrition, exercising, being mindful. No. If I already had the love and the health, I thought I would start asking for wealth. But wait a second. Can you just ask for wealth? Well, the Bible says, "Ask, and ye shall receive." But how can that be? You can't just have anything you want, right? I truly believe that God wants for us all to experience life in abundance. "It is my pleasure to give you the kingdom," said Jesus. I believe we are all constantly creating our lives at every moment. What you think about and feel today will create your tomorrow. Keep in mind that when you are ready to change, you have to alter your daily thoughts. Everything you may have said in a negative way, which you might not have even realized before, you should turn around. Some law of attraction followers say that this kind of mental effort is not necessary and that you shouldn't worry about all of the thousands of thoughts throughout your day. I disagree. I think that in order to begin living a life of ultimate creation, we need to realize that every statement we make is its own creation. You need to change your mindset about everything that you currently associate as negative. It is a serious undertaking to reprogram your brain, and it takes time and patience with yourself. When we think continuously about what we don't want, as most of us are apt to do, then what we don't want will keep showing up. We need to change our minds into thinking of what we do want instead. So, instead of saying, "I don't want to be late," you should say, "I want to be on time." Instead of thinking, "She is always so rude to me," you should say, "I love when she is kind to me." Instead of saying, "Look at that horrible line of traffic going the other direction. I sure hope I don't get into terrible traffic on my way home," you should say, "I'm so grateful that my way is clear. I am so fortunate to be driving where it is easy and light. I'm going to get there a lot quicker now." Instead of saying, "The flu is going around. I hope I don't get sick. I seem to get the flu every year," you should say, "I have been healthy for months now. I am so grateful to be well and feeling great." I know it takes a lot of mental effort to begin reframing your self-talk conversations throughout the day. And truthfully, you may feel a little silly at first. But it is retraining your brain. And it does take time. I started doing this about 7 months ago, and there are still times when I need to rephrase what I am saying and thinking. But you do get better at it. Every statement you make is a statement of creation. I caught myself saying the other day, "My allergies keep coming back." I said it with great frustration, so I know there was energy behind it. Moments after it left my mouth though, I realized what I had done. I was giving more energy to the very idea that my allergies will keep coming back. I made a new statement, and tried to feel the feelings of total health as I said it. My allergies are healing. I am so grateful to have clear sinuses. Create what you want by the power of your words, thoughts, actions, and feelings. If you think positive thoughts, you have to feel them too. Otherwise, they are just empty words. When you can feel what you want, or if you make the mistake of feeling what you don't want, just as I had felt the anxiety and dread of the police officer, you will give your thoughts greater power. They will manifest faster. You can use your positive thoughts and feelings to create what you want your life to look like. I also believe that another way to add power and speed to your desires is to share that vision with someone else. Having a purpose, a goal, a prayer that is shared deeply by another person gives that prayer power. Matthew 18:19 For again I say to you, if 2 of you agree on earth, about anything you ask, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. Many law of attraction practitioners use meditation to hone their thoughts to a fine point. Visualization and gratitude while in deep concentrated thought is a wonderful way to manifest what you would like to see happen in your life. Do you pray with your loved ones? Or do you meditate with a loved one? Do you have a prayer group or do you share a deep-seated belief with someone close to you? What are you creating with that person? Do you have a shared vision or a successful business, or are there conflicting feelings between you? Do you have a shared belief about your life circumstances? How is that manifesting in your life? Chances are you do share some goals, visions or beliefs with someone close to you. And it doesn't have to happen via quiet contemplation or visualization. Many people shy away from meditation, but I liken it to prayer. When I meditate, I feel as though I am in deep communion with God, thanking Him for the things which are yet unseen. Next we'll explore more about how the law of attraction works with prayers and your beliefs at a core level. Chapter 4. Law of Attraction, Prayer, and Belief. There is a profound and cosmically perfect connection between the teachings of the law of attraction and the Bible. Being introduced to the law of attraction, I suddenly understood why prayer works. It is the power of belief, just as Jesus said. Only I didn't get it before. And truthfully, I don't think the vast majority of people in the congregation truly get it either. If they did, they would all have everything they ever wanted or needed by virtue of their faith. No, the truth is, we doubt. We are doubtful creatures, and only the Lord knows why. Being raised in religion, I grew up hearing a multitude of Bible verses, but they always came across to me as hyperbole. They were great stories, they were quotes of inspiration, and they were amazing miracles that I assumed were exaggerated for effect, much like various writings and literature through the ages. How could those things be true? Mountains don't move. Seas don't part. And water doesn't really turn to wine. But wait a second. Did water turn to wine? If Jesus was the ultimate conduit of faith, belief, and power direct from God, and if all things are possible through him, then couldn't the water really turn to wine? The Bible tells us over and over again that whatever degree of faith we hold, so shall it be done unto us. We get what we think, feel, and believe. Even modern science points to the existence of strange twists of reality. It has now been proven scientifically that one particle can be in two places at the same time. Think about that for a moment. It has also been proven through quantum physics that a particle changes what it is doing or where it is, based on whether or not it is being observed. This is real science. When a person looks, the particle is doing one thing. When the person is not looking, the particle is doing something else. In other words, the human mind is a powerful manipulator of physical reality, whether we understand or utilize that power or not. Did you ever imagine that the Bible could be linked to quantum physics in such short series of statements? I never would have guessed it myself. The more I learn, the more my mind is blown. This is reality. Reality is simultaneously a very strange experience, and a very simple one. We have the power, if we only have the faith. We can create the life we truly want. Faith. What about the power of faith? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. Hebrews 11:1 And it is the power of you, yourself, getting clear about what you want in your life. In the book, The Science of Getting Rich, Wallace Wattles talks about the value of prayer being, in part, to help you to get specific, clear, and detailed about what you want. It is not meant for us to ask repeatedly for things, as the Bible says, ask not in vain repetition, like the heathens do. Repeated asking displays a lack of belief that we are not receiving. We are receiving, and we need to emit the feeling of receiving. When we adjust our mental reality, our physical reality begins to change into the circumstances we want. God knows what we need and want. If we believe we can have it, feel the feelings of having it and express gratitude for having that, which is yet unseen, we will indeed have it. Matthew 17:20. And he said to them, because of the littleness of your faith, for truly I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you shall say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it shall move, and nothing shall be impossible to you. Matthew 7:7. Ask, and it shall be given to you, seek and you shall find, knock, and it shall be opened unto you. What a wondrous message! And for the first time in my life, all of those scriptures I had been taught in my youth were starting to connect with me, and make sense. Jesus' words were shown in a different light under this new understanding. As you believe, so shall it be done unto you. The sheer number of Bible verses that correspond to the law of attraction are astounding, if you just begin to look for them. You can have, be, and do whatever your mind can conceive of doing, and whatever you believe you can have. With the rare exception of things like actually sprouting your own wings and taking flight, I'd say that you truly can have just about anything you want. It just has to be believable for you. Health, wealth, love. What you focus on will expand. If it is believable for you, and if you believe you deserve it, feel the feelings of having it, feel the gratitude, and it will be yours. Through my readings, The Secret, The Science of Getting Rich, The Master Key System, The Magic of Believing, and more, I was prompted to write down what I actually wanted out of life. You can call it a gratitude journal, because it's important to remember in this philosophy that you are to be grateful for everything you have and to act as though you already have the things you want. That is true faith. I discovered that I wanted things I never would have admitted before. I believe Jack Canfield once said that he believed we were often afraid to admit to ourselves what we really want, because we cannot imagine how it can happen. The disbelief and fear stops us. I have found that to be amazingly true. I have begun to ask people, out of sheer curiosity, what do you really want? If you could choose a career you loved, if you could live anywhere, what would that look like for you? I have been surprised by the responses. Some people have an instant answer and lots of them. I would create art. I would write. I would do photography. I have so many things I would do if I could. Others are very silent. Then they'll say, I don't know. When given time to think, they end up coming to an answer though. I think I would own my own record store. I have found that each person truly does know the answer for them that would lead to their happiness. In each of these answers, there is also a service they would be providing to others, which cannot be overlooked. I do not believe that the great design of the universe is for each person to have his own private island away from everyone else, doing no good for each other in the process of luxury living. But the wonderful thing is, that when you follow your passions, you will find that what you are doing or producing is of value to others. The unfortunate thing is that most of us simply don't believe we can have what we want, so we push our true desires back to the recesses of our minds. I love reading stories of people who just decided one day to go and do something different. I decided to quit my job and move to Europe. I didn't know how it would work, but I did it, and I'm living the life of my dreams. Obviously, there are a lot of smaller steps for someone making a big change, and each step was manifested in perfect timing for that person because they got clear about what they wanted and believed it to be happening. When you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. By Ralph Waldo Emerson. We just need to trust in God, like we say we do. We can't pray for sunshine and then go to our window immediately after our prayer and see a cloud and say, "Oh, but I know it's going to rain." Release our doubts and fears, because those have power. Act as if, and it will be provided to you. There are countless examples of how to act in order to produce results you want in your life. And it doesn't always have to be big changes right away, especially if you are just starting out. Maybe instead of a career change right now you would like to practice exercising your mind for some smaller things that would bring you happiness in your life. I'll talk later about manifesting something as simple as a cup of coffee, but for now, let's take a look at something I've found extremely fun. This is an example of a simple, yet profound way to get yourself to feel gratitude for the things you want and to draw them to you. Attracting the clothing you want from a very simple everyday example, I think of shopping. For my whole life, whenever I would go into a clothing store, I would gravitate right towards the sales rack. Of course, options there are usually pretty limited. But over the years I was mildly happy with my closet's daily offerings, but often a bit disappointed. The infamous, "I have nothing to wear," was uttered many a morning in my house. After the message of the secret began to sink in with me, I did a few experiments, mentally. I would walk into a department store and decide that I could have and afford whatever I really wanted. I talked this up in my head quite a bit, trying to make myself believe it, when in fact, it seemed a little difficult for me to swallow. It's hard to change belief systems overnight, but it can be done. Herein lies the meat of this book, by the way. So, I just repeated to myself, I can afford that. And I allowed myself to look at and feel the clothing items I desired. I tried many things on, and experienced high-end dressing rooms, the feel of expensive fabrics and excellent customer service. I even took a few photos of myself to later remind myself of my favorite dresses and how I felt and looked in them. I really soaked in the whole experience, believing I was worth it. Wow! Walking into and out of the store that first day felt totally different. I started to realize what styles I actually liked. Wow, I thought. If I could have anything I wanted to wear, I would really have a sophisticated eclectic style going on. This is the real me. I left the store that day so pumped up, that I literally had to check for bags to make sure I hadn't bought anything, because I felt like I already owned those clothes. They were meant for me. I later took more action. I began going through my closet and sorting out clothes to give away. My closet had been crowded with clothes that I did not feel good wearing. Some were older styles, others were worn out. I wanted to look and feel my best, so I gave away or sold lots and lots of clothes that I no longer needed. This made room for newer clothes in my considerably slimmer closet space. And what about those clothing items I photographed in the dressing room that day? Those dresses were about $200 each. About 2 months after I tried them on, I found one of the dresses, the exact dress on sale for over half off. 2 months after that, 4 months total time, I found an almost identical dress of the other one I had loved. It too was over half off. The similarities between the dresses was uncanny. Both dresses were white, sleeveless, wispy, knee-length with black intricate designs on the neck extending down. I had held to the image that those dresses were for me. And given a little bit of time, they fell right into my path and my budget. Amazing. In my world, I have the belief that I want to be smart with my money, that I am a responsible spender. And when I look at $300 purses, admittedly, I still feel a twinge in my stomach at the thought of purchasing it. That twinge is powerful. It says to me that I cannot afford it, and that I feel bad spending money on it. I'm still working on that one. But I do like the belief that I am wise with money, therefore, I am okay with allowing myself to find great deals on clothes on the occasional sales rack. I have adjusted my expectations though. And this is what seems to be working for me. You will find what works for you. I have now purchased quality clothing items both at full price and on discount. I feel sophisticated and more in line with what I want, wealth, when I wear these clothes. This is part of the secret that you have to understand. We all limit ourselves with beliefs. These beliefs may come from childhood, or a particular experience you had, or your daily current routine, but often these beliefs run deep. And these beliefs can prevent you from experiencing the true joy you deserve. What is belief? I once heard a definition of belief that I loved. A belief is a repetitive thought. A belief is a repetitive thought. A belief is a repetitive thought. Change your thoughts, change your beliefs. And change your beliefs, and you can have a dream life. Well, so far I've told you a great way to bring nicer clothes into your life. And I should also mention that you need to express gratitude for your current clothes if you'd like to get newer ones. Hating what you wear does not help you emit the feelings you want to attract. But, in the big scheme of life, clothing is a relatively minor thing to consider. But it is an important baby step, much like the other mind experiments I'll share with you in a moment. If you can get things started in a small way, it bolsters your faith and belief, and soon you can go large, very large. You have to get yourself to a place of believing that you can have the things you want, and one easy way to do that is to think in terms of small successes. At the beginning of your practice. Chapter 5. Other Mind Experiments. My heart. This was my very first experiment with the law of attraction. I got to play with this and experience amazement at what was much more than coincidence to me. In my reading, I had heard of a story of someone attracting a very specific item into his life, in order to prove to himself that the law of attraction was real. He imagined a distinctive feather and attracted it into his life. He created a mental image with particular markings, and held to that image. Days later, the feather miraculously appeared in his life. That's when he knew the secret was real. Inspired by that story, I was anxious to begin. Could physical items literally manifest in your life based on nothing but your mental images and sheer concentration? I decided I would focus on attracting a heart. Not just any heart, but a particular one. It would be on paper, a drawing. It would be colored in with red crayon, with a black crayon outlining the heart. To make it even more distinctive, I created a mental image of the black outline of the heart crisscrossing at the bottom. Quietly I would sit in silent meditation, imagining this heart. It is easier for the mind to stay fixed on a subject if there is motion, so I imagined the drawing of the heart. I imagined the red crayon zigzagging inside the heart to color it. I imagined the black outlining and traced and retraced it in my mind. I imagined how good I felt receiving this heart, because it would confirm the truth of the law of attraction to me. For days, I spent a few minutes each day contemplating this image. A couple of weeks later, I was checking my mail, and found an advertisement with a heart on it. The heart was not what I had envisioned. Its outline was formed with little white flowers. It was on paper, but it was cream-colored. It was a heart, so my own heart began to flutter. But it was not the exact heart I envisioned. Encouraged by this result, which you may call a mere coincidence, I set about meditating once more. The same red crayon-colored, black outline heart was traced and retraced in my mind's eye. Days later, another heart appeared in my mail. This time it was closer to what I had pictured. It was again an advertisement, this time for makeup. The heart was colored in with a pinkish lipstick, giving the zigzag nature I had envisioned. It was thrilling for me to find this heart, but again, it was not quite what I had been picturing. So, once more, I set about meditating. I was determined to improve my powers of thought and to create just what I wanted to appear in my life. A few more weeks passed, and as I was reading a new book to my son, suddenly, it jumped out at me. I nearly cried. Here in the pages of the book, was a red heart, colored in the zigzag fashion, with a black outline. Where I had imagined the black crisscrossing at the bottom, the picture I was holding was very close. The black lines that formed the outside of the heart were off-kilter and looked very close to what I had imagined. I ran to my husband and exclaimed, "This is my heart. This is what I've been visualizing." He is the skeptic of the house, but even he had to admit this was unusual. Whenever future doubts arose about the law of attraction, or my ability to create, attracting items out of thin air, I remind myself of this first experiment. Sometimes action is required. I did have to check the mail, get the book, etc. But, sometimes, the very thing you have been visualizing really does just appear to you. The universe just lines things up perfectly and effortlessly. Conduct your own experiment and see for yourself. It is an amazing thing indeed. From free coffee to millionaire. On the secret CD, one teacher suggests imagining that you can have a free cup of coffee. The point of the exercise is to focus your attention on something you consider to be small and somewhat easy. Yet, when you see success with attracting that free cup of coffee, it provides evidence to your consciousness and your subconscious. You start to believe, hey, maybe this stuff does work. Maybe it's not just coincidence. Do this enough times and you will start to believe. Coffee was one of the first success stories I had after the heart experiment. And to this day I still receive free coffees. I never know where they are coming from or how it will happen, but I expect them and feel gratitude for them, and so I keep getting them. I have almost giggled out loud a few times, as I stood at the counter and the cashier said something like, "The card reader doesn't seem to be working. Go ahead and take it. It's on the house." Or, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm new here and I messed up your order." Then the manager comes over and gives me the drink for free. Each time, it's a different set of circumstances, yet it happens over and over. I receive gift cards for coffee and coupons for free coffee. It's limitless. And as I continue to make statements like, "I get free coffee all the time," so it continues to be true. It sounds a little like playing a trick on your own mind. But the truth is, thoughts are one of the few things in this world in which we should, and do, have complete and utter power over. We are spiritual beings, who observe our bodies, observe our thoughts and actions. Finding money. Here's another fun mind experiment I've had success with. It is the task of finding money. I told myself that money was everywhere, I only had to notice it. I would see shiny objects as I drove around or walked around. Even litter on the side of the road would attract my attention, and I would imagine I was seeing money everywhere I looked. Shortly thereafter, I began finding pennies. Now, remember, if at first, your ideal is not realized, Surely I wanted to find more than pennies. You are not to be disappointed. Disappointment is a very distinct and powerful feeling. Instead, replace that feeling with gratitude, excitement, and joy. I was excited to find pennies, and felt gratitude for them. But at the same time, I said to myself, you can do bigger. I later began finding silver coins. The most I collected at once was almost $2 in quarters in the parking lot. This is better, I thought. More money for me. Again, I continued with this practice of imagining finding money everywhere. My most recent example of this working is when I found a $10 bill, a 5 and a 1 at one time in the parking lot, $16 lying right there, and I was very grateful. I was amazed by this process, and so continue to believe and attract finding money. For larger sums, you have to transfer your belief to finding money through multiple channels, or by thinking that money is coming to you in increasing amounts from various avenues all the time. Because, as cool as it would be to move on to greater amounts of money found on the street, I foresee potential issues with finding wads of hundreds. Those hundreds, and thousands, and millions, are coming to me legitimately through multiple streams of income. You can play with these mind experiments, or create your own. In some ways, it's like pretending. In other ways, it is extreme concentration through visualization. You can also use affirmations to enhance your beliefs. With practice, you can make yourself believe almost anything. And when you believe it, it becomes true for you. Start with coffee, or finding coins. As simple as it sounds, you can go from coffee to millionaire. It can happen. Chapter 6. Free coffee, check. What's next? If you're like me, you probably wrote down on your list of desires in life that you would like to be rich. Perhaps a multi-millionaire even. But, you may have some difficulty convincing yourself that it is possible. Remember, if you have faith that something is true, then it becomes true. But, it is much easier for us to convince ourselves that we can find coins, than it is for us to become millionaires. In terms of my belief system, I do believe I can become a millionaire, and so that is set in motion already. However, I have had difficulty convincing myself that I can become a millionaire overnight. Because I do not hold that value in me, and because I believe I have to work hard and pay some dues before becoming rich, so it must be true. If you can convince yourself on a deep level, that you deserve to be and can be an overnight millionaire, I firmly believe that would happen for you. But, we humans are set in our beliefs. We have watched the way the world works for many years, and have come to expect certain things. And in terms of most people's realistic expectations, getting rich is very unlikely. There are 1,000, or maybe 1,000,000, reasons people will give you about how hard it is. The money is cornered by the world's top 2%. You have to get mighty lucky to become a millionaire. Better play the lottery and hope for the best. Only greedy people get rich. Only people with $1 million idea get rich, and even then, they have to be damn lucky. Most people inherit their fortune, and I come from a long line of broke folks. Sure, it would be great to be rich. But you can't just get rich because you want it. It's next to impossible. Dream on. Many people seem to think that millionaires are like celebrities. They are unusual, and only a select few, hard to access or meet, lead lives that are very far from reality to us, are charmed in some way, are lucky, and are not in our general realm of possibility. Yet, anyone can get rich. And you would be surprised at just how many people are living a life of wealth and prosperity. There are countless stories of average or everyday people getting rich throughout history. I love the stories of actors who waited tables before they became stars. The story of W. Clement Stone, who as a small poor child, set his mind towards success, and in so doing, realized his success early on. He built on that for his whole life. Napoleon Hill is another such example. Winston Churchill said, "You create your own universe as you go along." Neville Goddard once gave a lecture he called, "The Pruning Shears of Revision," in which he states the firm belief that visualization makes creation. He suggests that at the end of every day, you recreate the situations that did not go well by replaying them in your mind the way you wanted. I firmly believe that if you will wisely and daily use the pruning shears of revision, that you will find there is no objective beyond your ability to realize. And I mean that seriously, no objective beyond your ability to realize. Neville Goddard. I've heard it said that the fastest road to mediocrity is to have realistic expectations. Have you ever heard Will Smith talk about this subject? He has conducted many interviews where he talks about how your faith and belief in great things can literally draw those things to you. He says the universe will move and adapt to bring you into alignment with what it is you want. I admire the depth of passion and energy he shows when he talks about this aspect in his life. Countless people the world over have discovered this universal power. One of my favorite lectures is The Strangest Secret, by Earl Nightingale, in which he states, very plainly, that if you but set a goal, you will achieve it with almost certainty. But that most people set about drifting, imagining that their life is a result of circumstances over which they have no control. Most people do not hold the belief that they are creating their own life, in every moment. If your goal is to become rich, then set that goal. Do not wish for one thing after another with no real substance behind it. If your goal is to travel more, Do not set a goal to travel more. Set a specific goal, such as going to Portugal next December. Get specific. Everyone wants to be rich. Everyone wants to have a nice car. Everyone wants to travel. But those are vague wishes. Say how much money you want. Go test drive the car you want. Imagine it. Goals are achievable, and the universe will correspond to your mental images and feelings, if you but choose something to focus on. Whether it's coffee, money, career, family, health. Mark 11:24 Whatsoever things you desire when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. For me, when I was contemplating my goals, I did write down millionaire on my list of desires. I wrote down many things. I pretended I could have it all. What would I want? To my surprise, many things came to light that I was astonished by. Try it. You may be quite surprised by what you would really want or what you would really do if you could do anything in the world you wanted. I envisioned that money would come to me through many different avenues. I held visual pictures in my mind of multiple streams of incomes. I did not know where they would come from or how it would all fall into place. But I maintained that image, and still do, to this day. Little by little, these streams began to materialize and increase daily. I also decided that I would like to be a writer. No, an author. No, a best-selling author. Why not? You can have what you want, right? I always enjoyed writing, and some people told me I was pretty good at it, so, sure. A best-selling author. What else? Well, I'd had an interest in health and nutrition for most of my life. I was never sure what to do with it. Should I open a restaurant, a catering business? I had heard of a great coaching program, but didn't know what would be required to be admitted. Still, I wrote that down too. A wellness coach. Well, if I was going to be a wellness coach and best-selling author, there may be some speaking engagements involved. I mean, if I were to be successful, right? I'm a wreck with public speaking. But, I decided that, since I can have what I want, I'd like to be an excellent public speaker. So, I wrote that down too. On and on I went this way, making a detailed list. I wrote down things about my health, my fitness level, my desire to speak a second language, so I chose French, and on I continued, listing things for my family, my marriage, my son, my house, my belongings, everything. I got very specific and very detailed about what I wanted. And when I was done, I took a deep breath. What if I really could have these things? As my reading and studying continued, I began to believe that I could. Everything I had come to learn, from my mind experiments, from my faith, it was all culminating to a realization. I was creating my life, and I'd better get and stay clear about what it was I truly wanted. As I continued my exercises, I went online and found a free template for a business card. On it, I wrote my name, email, and number, and below that I put, health and wellness consultant, author, and speaker. That was 4 months ago. And at this very moment, I can say with all honesty that last week, I published my first book. I am currently enrolled in a top-notch wellness coaching program, and I was asked, just a few days ago, to speak at a local business. It took 4 months. This stuff works. But here's the caveat. Making the list is an amazing experience, but you can't just make a list of what you want and forget about it. While it's true that intense meditation can bring about the circumstances or items you want to have in your life, I have found that it doesn't always work this way. I'm not sure if it's because I don't yet have the depth of concentration required, or the faith and belief, but I have found that I often need to work to get what I want. And many times, I've worked myself to a point that other areas of my life suffered. I'll tell you my experience with that and how I've managed to find balance coupled with my successes. Chapter 7. Inspired Action, otherwise known as work. It is my belief that you must create in one of two ways. Intense visualization is one way, and action is the other. Visualization through meditation can be a powerful way to draw what you want to you. However, this is no small task. The mental energy and self-discipline required to make something appear out of thin air is work in and of itself. There is no labor from which most people shrink as they do from that of sustained and consecutive thought. Wallace Wattles. Thinking is the hardest work there is, which is why so few engage in it. Henry Ford. Dr. Joe Vitale once described this process of manifesting through visualization as possible, but challenging in this way. I am paraphrasing a good deal here. You can imagine what you want, with its fine detail, and wrap it in intense desire and gratitude. But if you miss it, doesn't mean that the law of attraction didn't work. Rather, it's comparable to trying to hit a tiny X drawn on the sidewalk, from standing way up on top of a skyscraper. I believe with practice you can get closer and closer to hitting that mark. But approximations can feel like failures. Think of my heart experiments. With practice, I came closer and closer to hitting the mark and finding the exact heart I had visualized. I'm reminded of the Jack Canfield story of success, where he visualized making $100,000 a year. His first year, he made around $92,000. Did he feel that the law of attraction didn't work for him? No. He was amazed at how close he came to his goal. Now, aside from visualization, which is an extremely important component of the practice of law of attraction, action is often required. And let me tell you, I did work for my initial successes. I worked darn hard. And I continue working, because what I am working on brings me tremendous joy. When you are inspired, what you are doing does not seem like work. I was so excited by all of my discoveries and new goals, that I would focus on it with such force, that other areas of my life were somewhat neglected. It's true that what you focus on expands. It's taken some time for me to learn to create balance. As much as I want success in my life, that is not the only thing I want, nor is it the most important thing in my life. I value my relationships, my health, my enjoyment of family, food, nature, and leisure. You see, I had held the belief that I could get rich, but that I would have to work really hard for it. I was even proud of the fact that I now knew I could get rich with hard work and effort. Up until 7 months ago, I never even imagined I could be rich, so it took me some time to get used to the idea and what that would look like for me. I have since adjusted my belief in a way that benefits me more. I now believe that I can get rich with work, yes, but on a more effortless level. You've heard the old adage, to work smarter, not harder. I've adopted that refrain into my affirmations. And it is working for me. What beliefs do you have? While I do continue to put in a lot of late nights working, I no longer work to the point of exhaustion. I also make sure to utilize my free time with family activities, rather than work. I soak up every minute of time with my toddler, and I value it so greatly. I feel gratitude for these precious moments of life. A walk with my husband, dancing in the kitchen, enjoying a superb meal, these are the things I value in my life. To me, wealth is an additional component that simply allows me to enjoy more of that. Wealth, to me, is not about having a gold watch, although that is fine for some. It is about financial freedom, getting out of the traditional 9-to-5 and being tied down to an employer-based job, having the life of luxurious freedom I want. Becoming a millionaire and beyond, means for me, that I will have more time and greater resources to enjoy my family, my travels, my leisure, and my overall life. And it means the opportunity to share my wealth and my time with others who would value it. Why would I want to become rich if it meant sacrificing my well-being or my relationships? Wealth is all-encompassing, in my mind, and it includes love of family and friends. I want it all. Work shouldn't feel too much like work if you want to be a writer, or chef, or fill in the blank, and you have to work at it to be successful, and you love doing it, then guess what? Working starts to feel not too much like work. It starts to feel fun. It feels like excitement and joy. And if you think about how your work can provide a value or a service to others, you will truly begin to feel lighter and more joyful in your efforts. While you can have what you want, it holds no merit to hold selfish pursuits. I do not believe God, while intending for us to live in abundance, intended for us to be wholly egotistical. Love of self and want of more life, through successes, money, health, etc., is meant to benefit your fellow neighbors. You can simultaneously gain success by making every person you encounter better for having interacted with you. I fully intend for all of my work efforts to be of value to others. Do you feel joyful in your work pursuits? Do you bring joy to others? If you hate your current job or circumstance and you feel they drain you of energy, imagine how you would feel if you could put your good energy into the project you chose for yourself. When I stayed up working all those late nights, after my family went to bed, I was simultaneously invigorated and exhausted. I would crawl into bed at 3 a.m., not because I wanted to be done working, but because my body was crying out for rest. Several months at this pace, and I finally allowed myself to slow down. After my first book was published, I promised myself I would restore balance in my life. I would put family time, exercise, and sleep back up on the priority list. I knew I could have success. And while it did require work from me, I loved every second of it. There are authors from long ago, and teachers of the great law of attraction, who will tell you that if you sit and meditate, imagining what you want could simply show up, as did my heart. I believe that to be true. Figure out what you want and convince yourself that you already have it. Then, it is undoubtedly yours. Remember that you are in the constant process of creating your life. What is it you want? Chapter 8. A comprehensive list what I did to bring success and prosperity into my life. This chapter is devoted to tips for everyday practices you can begin doing to attracting abundance to you. When I read other books, I loved the philosophy and the advice they gave. Many times the authors would give you examples of how to practice the law of attraction. But, more often than not, I really wanted very specific examples. I wanted to know more tips and exercises for how they managed to convince themselves, and alter their beliefs. After more digging around, I began to find practices, such as EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, which helps you to adjust your beliefs on a subconscious level. EFT is listed below along with other examples I used, and that you may find helpful. These are many of the things that I personally did to bring success into my life. Feeling immense gratitude, that is love, for my current home, my current car, my current bank account, my current clothes, my current everything. Pretending to see money everywhere, pretending that shiny pieces of rubbish on the side of the road were coins, papers scattered were bills. I can afford that, statements. Whenever I would see something I liked, perhaps something that I used to envy, like an expensive car, I say to myself that I can afford it easily. Driving in expensive neighborhoods, envisioning myself living there, going to open houses in luxury homes, touching the door, feeling the wood grain on my hand, imagining it was my home. Driving in expensive car dealerships, taking photos of the cars I desired to refer to later, talking to salesmen about the car's features, touching the car. Pretending I would pretend that checks were coming in the mail to me, getting excited to go to the mailbox, pretending to open envelopes with checks inside. Luxury, surfing the internet for luxury items, first-class world travel, reading descriptions online, imagining what it would be like. EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique recommended by Jack Canfield and many others, as a way to reprogram your old belief systems by tapping acupressure points while repeated a prescriptive phrase. Mirror technique: writing goals and gratitudes on my bathroom mirror, using a bar of soap, as well as making affirmations with EFT while looking at myself in the mirror. Meditation: visualization becomes more powerful the more you practice it. You can start with a few minutes a day, but for maximum benefit, 20 to 30 minutes has proven an ideal period of time for me. It allows me to create scenes and circumstances in my mind, with vivid detail and emotion. Crying tears of gratitude is a sign you're on the right track. Blank checks: I wrote blank checks to myself for unexpected income. These were near misses for me. Again, it's like trying to hit a very specific spot from up high on a skyscraper. These amounts came close to me, via family members, but in my 2 attempts, the check amount did not come to me directly. An example is a $20,000 blank check I looked at every day. I did not meditate on it, and perhaps if I had it would have held more power. A few months after seeing this check every day with my name on it, a $20,000 check did come into my possession, for a person with my last name, Jackson. Alas, the check was not intended for me, but wow, was that close. Practice, practice. Gratitude: it is true that gratitude, love, and desire are all tied up in one pretty little bow together. Praise and bless everyone and everything around you. There is a lovely story from one of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, of a woman who healed her autoimmune disease by doing nothing more than giving a silent blessing of love to everyone who crossed her path for a whole year. Food: buying high-quality food and enjoying a handful of high-quality restaurants, savoring every moment and remembering the feelings of luxury. $50 bills: I began keeping a $50 bill in my wallet at all times. It felt good to see it every day. I later began to keep 2 or 3 because I discovered that it felt amazing to pay for an item with a 50, as opposed to a 10 or 20. Remember, you want to generate the feelings of having more than enough. If keeping $50 bills in your wallet makes you feel anxious, then this exercise will not benefit you. But be aware of how you feel and work on changing that. Planning: what would you do or have if you were rich? Begin planning for that vacation you want. Put items in your cart at an online store as though you were going to buy them. Think seriously about the way you'll feel when you can leave your day job. Plan where your new home will be. All of these things can happen, and they are much more likely to happen if you get the images in your head now. Prayer: the Bible says in Matthew 18:19 that where 2 or more are in agreement, so it shall be done. In other words, there is power and strength in numbers. Say prayers of gratitude with your mate, or have a small group meditation focusing on a loved one's healing. There is power in faith and belief that is magnified with more than one person. Action: take action steps that demonstrates a belief in something else happening. One of my examples is that I opened a business post office box in the town I wanted to do business in, about 2 months before I even had a business. I had faith that it would happen, so I set up the account. Similarly, this can be true for business bank accounts, address labels, business cards, and more. Think of your situation and how you could use action to demonstrate your faith. Media: I stopped watching, reading and listening to news stories when I learned the secret pure and simple. I suddenly realized that my subconscious is a sponge, absorbing everything positive and negative around it. And I no longer wanted to be putting negative information into my thought bank, because I only wanted to be generating positive thoughts for my future. My hearing about the deficit crisis or a local murder in no way helped the world, or me. I began filling this space with music I loved, an audio of law of attraction lecturers, or even simple silence. Passwords. When I would create new online accounts, I would create passwords that emphasized what I wanted to focus on. Well, We Alpha Family is one that I no longer use, but that I loved typing in daily. Affirmations and notes. I am what I will to be was written on my palm for days at a time. Little notes on my dresser or in my car reminded me of the change in my mindset. I hope that you will find some use in these examples I'm sharing from my own life. Since first learning about the law of attraction, I've had the desire to share this knowledge. It truly is the great secret of life. Chapter 9. Suggested reading: The Magic of Believing, by Claude Bristol; The Great Within, and Other Books, by Christian D. Larson; Law of Attraction in the Thought World, by William Atkinson; The Greatest Thing in the World, by Henry Drummond; The Master Key System, by Charles Haanel; Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill; As a Man Thinketh, by James Allen; In Tune with the Infinite, by Ralph Waldo Trine; The Science of Getting Rich, by Wallace Wattles; The Secret, by Rhonda Byrne; Your Faith is Your Fortune, by Neville Goddard. Chapter 10. Gratitude. It is with the deepest of heartfelt thanks that I extend my appreciation to you for reading this book. When I first learned about the law of attraction, and even in subsequent months, I was unable to find an everyday person kind of success story. There were wonderful teachers I could locate online, and many of them sold courses or books detailing their techniques. But I yearned for a personal connection from someone who was just like a neighbor down the street. It is my sincere hope that my story of success, and continual learning and growing, has been of value to you. I believe we are to be of service to others, no matter what our pursuit: health, wealth, love, or more. Keep these tips handy for those days when you get discouraged. Lisa Nichols said that we should recognize those feelings of despair, disappointment, discouragement, and replace them with an unwavering faith. So should you turn to this book in times of doubt. Read the other suggested authors mentioned in Chapter 9. This is real. Believe it, accept it.